All right, so we're going to talk about craving control, but what I want to talk to you about is we've got three different things that you have heard people talk a lot about online. And they basically tell you to do it. They don't tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you how to do it, and it's probably going to be a different way than you think you would actually go about doing it. So, the three things that we're going to talk about is avoiding trigger foods. The second thing, keeping those foods out of the house and practicing moderation. That's the third thing. Now, these overlap because it's basically dealing with the same thing. We're trying to figure out how we're going to crave or control our cravings, crave our controllables. And you know what? Maybe I should probably put that on a shirt. Anyway. So, in order to avoid the trigger food, what I'm going to tell you to do is to actually diffuse the trigger. And you do that if you bonus points if you know how many meals that you normally eat in a day. So let's say that you normally eat 4 meals a day. I want you to find a time outside of that to take the biggest, nastiest trigger food that you have, the one that you're scared of, the one that you have convinced yourself that you can't eat. I want you to eat it every single day at this time that is not part of your normal eating schedule. And the reason you're doing this is you have convinced yourself that you can't be around this food. You're reinforcing your past actions and behaviors, saying, see, this is why I can't eat it. And then when you do give in, air quotes, and eat it, you eat a lot of it. And then that reinforces to you, see, this is why I can't eat this. This is why I can't keep this stuff in the house, right? So here's how we do it. You're eating this food every single day outside of your normal eating window until it lessens its grip on it. There's no portion limit. So, like if you eat large pizzas, eat one large pizza every day outside of your normal eating window. And I'm going to tell you what eventually is going to happen. At first, you might have a couple of days where you eat the entire large pizza. And you're going to have those thoughts of like, see, this is why I don't do it. This is why I don't do it. But what will eventually happen, and most people I don't think are, I don't, you will notice quickly you don't want the entire pizza. You're going to have some mental and emotional stuff pulling at you the first few days. And you're also probably going to be very excited because this is the food that's off limits and it's no longer off limits. Like you're literally in control of this now. You're saying, I'm eating this every day until I don't want to eat all of this anymore. And in most cases, it's not going to take you 2 weeks. It is not going to take you 2 weeks. That food, the grip on it is going to become less and less, and you're going to get to the point where you don't want to eat it anymore. Now, another long-term part of this, it's not that you're never going to eat this again, but you're not going to eat to this extent for this amount of time ever again. Maybe you'll eat a large pizza again by yourself, but I think eventually you'll work your way down from that. And when I talk about this stuff, I'm interested in how you're eating for the rest of your life, not right now while you're trying to lose weight. Because see, if we diffuse this trigger, and again, I said start with the biggest one first, you start to feel empowered around food choices and decisions. You don't feel guilty. You work through that. And you start to see that it wasn't that you couldn't have this food around. It's that you had a food rule that you were following because you were told that your behavior around that food was not what it should be. And that has led to guilt, shame, and everything else. Do you have an out of order relationship with that food right now? Maybe, but this is you putting stuff in order. Okay. So, and this ties into the other two. We'll keep the junk food out of the house. That's my trigger food. I can't have it in the house. Eventually you'll be able to. You know, one of my foods I would have said I routinely would eat pints of ice cream in one sitting just because like I enjoyed it. Sometimes it was because of what I was feeling. Sometimes it was just because like, hey, I want some ice cream. But I got to the point where at first I allowed myself just to eat as much of those as I wanted. I waited till they were on sale one day, like one week, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stock up and I'm going to deal with this whole ice cream thing. And what that eventually turned into, it started as, well, I won't eat the entire thing. Literally, and you'll see memes about this, but like if you're eating an entire pint of ice cream and then you eat all of it, but like one bite, that's progress. Just like when you see the meme where it's like, I ordered 4 tacos and only ate 3. That's actually progress. And it's always like the picture of of the um, the kid by the pool. Fitness is my passion. So, but I mean, that's truly how this works. It's incremental. And then you get to the point where, okay, a pint of ice cream, well, I'll eat roughly half. Like a pint of ice cream lasts me is 2 servings. And it's like maybe 3. And now I'm at the point where most of the time, if I get a pint of ice cream out of the freezer and there's one in there that I've had for really a couple of months. I bought some other ones. I had like, so I bought like 4 or 5 pints of ice cream a couple months ago, and I have one left I haven't even opened. And like, but what I've been doing is like, if I want some ice cream, I just go in and I take 2 to 3 bites most of the time. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, I really want ice cream, and I'll eat more. But it's not one of those foods that, oh, I can't have it in the house, because I just have it in the house. And then when we talk about practicing moderation, um, when you start to work through the stuff that we're talking about with diffusing the trigger and then being able to keep the food in the house, moderation, which is typically something when you talk to people in conversation, it's the foods that they don't think they can have. If you you have something in the house, and most of the time you're like, yeah, cool, I don't even think about it. I don't think about the pints of ice cream that I have. They're just there. Sometimes I open the freezer and they're just a nice surprise, right? So like you get to the point where you don't even think about it. And when we say moderation, I like to think of it as we should actually have a variety in what we eat. Meaning, like there are some, so like there are, I think when it comes to fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, all that stuff, protein sources, all of it, all the stuff that we think belongs in a diet of somebody that's trying to take care of themselves. I try to limit myself to like 1 to 2 servings a day on that stuff, on each of those, so that I get a variety. So like moderation is just fitting everything in. And then you can decide, like with the ice cream or the pizza or the cookies or whatever, like, is it worth it today? Some days it's gonna be. And when I was talking about that at the beginning about diffusing the trigger and like, oh my gosh, you're adding an entire large pizza in it on top of what I'm already eating. Yes, because we're going to take the short term bump in calories, and because we're working for the rest of your life. So no matter how much you're eating in a week, couple weeks, couple days, I even said it would take a couple weeks. But even if it took a couple months? Wouldn't you trade months for the rest of your life to where you can have that food at times and you don't feel guilty about it? Now, I wouldn't recommend jumping on the scale, because I've had people do this too. Tell them about how to handle the trigger food, and then they'll get on the scale. I gained 5 pounds. See, this is why I don't do it. Okay, well, you're going to lose that when you stop eating this much and it doesn't have the mental pull on you. That's how that goes. So anyway, I thought for this episode, because again, I was telling you guys last time how a lot of what is talked about in the fitness space is approaching stuff from a very logical point of view, and like people saying, well, avoid your trigger foods, keep the junk food out of the house, practice moderation. These are all behavior-based actions, but what is mentally driving that, the mental tug of war that's going on underneath, is the stuff that actually allows you to do this. Otherwise, you're relying on willpower and discipline, and that is no way to live. And that is a recipe for failure. Some people can hang in on the discipline stuff for a pretty long time and the willpower stuff, but eventually it cracks and shatters. It In the time that the amount of people that I've talked to, the amount of people that I've seen and worked with over the years, and there was one person that I thought actually beat it, and this dude he was losing weight every week. Everything was coming down to like he had his metabolism calculated. He was spreadsheeting all this stuff for a year and a half. He lost weight every week. He's like, it's just as simple as knowing your metabolism, until it wasn't, until he stalled. He didn't like the stall because the stall wasn't matching the logic. So, like, if you're a very logical person, you can get yourself really far on this stuff. But, like, we really need to lean into and acknowledge and lean into the emotional side of how we feel about food, eating, exercise, and all this stuff, because it really does make a difference. So, that is what we do with Your Level Fitness. It is the inside out approach. If you're brand new, check out yourlevelfitness.com. It gives you all the information on that. So, but that is what I have for you. So thank you as always for listening and watching, and I'll talk to you again real soon.